Hello and welcome! We are back with day 2 of the 100 Days of Code Challenge. It's going to be a quick one, because I've got quite a few things I need to get done today. But I have to commit to the challenge, of course, so we need to do at least an hour as part of the challenge, and that's what we're going to be doing. Today we're going to be tackling the Applied Visual Design section of FreeCodeCamp's curriculum. I'm pretty excited. It's stuff that I've literally never done before. I've done the basics, and we tackled the basics yesterday, which was really exciting. And yeah, let's see how far we can get with the next hour. So let's create visual balance using the text-align property. This section of the curriculum focuses on applied visual design. The first group of challenges build on the given card layout to show a number of core principles. Text is often a large part of web content. CSS has several options for how to align it with the text-align property, which is pretty exciting. So justify causes all lines of text except the last line to meet the left and right edges of the line box. Center obviously centers the text, right and left, well, should be pretty obvious. So we need to align the h4's tag's text, which says Google, to the center. Then justify the paragraph tag, which contains information about how Google was founded, which is over here. Your code should use the text-align property of the h4 tag, and we need to center it. Okay, so are we... okay, here we go. So they built this up in here, so we're just going to use our inline styling, and we're going to say text align. It is the h4 we need to center. Yeah. There we go. And then the paragraph needs to be justified. So text align justify. And there we go. Sweet! So what are we at now? Adjust the width of an element using the width property. Okay, you can specify the width of an element using the width property in CSS. Values can be given in relative length units such as m, absolute length units such as pixels, or as a percentage of its containing parent element. Here's an example that changes the width of an image to 220 pixels. Add a width property to the entire card and set it to an absolute value of 245 pixels. Use the full card class to select the element. Okay, so we can use the full card and we're going to do width. Didn't we do something yesterday on width as well to expand? I think we did, didn't we? Oh, hold on, I was looking at the other bit of code. It's 245 pixels. And that should be it. Adjust the height of an element using the height property. You can specify the height of an element using the height property in CSS, similar to the width property. Here's an example that changes the height of an image to 20 pixels. Add a height property to the h4 tag, okay, and set it to 25 pixels. So height 25 pixels. Nice and easy so far. Use the strong tag. I remember this when you used to use the B and then it changed to strong, just like I was M, or emphasis. Use a strong tag to make text bold. To make text bold, you can use a strong tag. This is often used to draw attention to text and symbolize that it is important. With the strong tag, the browser applies a CSS of font weight bold to the element. Wrap a strong tag around the Stanford University inside the P tag. Okay, so over here, we're just going to do strong, and we're just going to close it up. That should be it, huh? No? Did I... Is it not wrapped around? God, what did I do to Stanford? Did I like completely... Oh, okay, because I think when I auto-completed, it removed everything. Stupicide, hey! What's so responsible about this? I guess the chat, the fact that I can respond to you almost instantaneously, that's kind of responsive, huh? I think it's a fact of, well, we're getting through all the basics first, and responsiveness just being able to resize the browser and the elements just adjust accordingly. We did something like that yesterday, it was pretty cool. I think we're still going through the entire curriculum till we get to that point. And there we go. It's kind of like a little RPG game. We're leveling ourselves up, completing challenges. So now we need to use the U, the underline text. To underline text, we can use the U tag. Wrap the U tag only around the PhD students. Let's not mess this up this time, shall we? Up to students. Right, so over there. Pretty simple. Web design, so boring though. Right, you see, I wanted to go straight to the JavaScript, but part of me is a completionist, and when I saw the curriculum, it was just like, I'm gonna skip this entire one just to do it. There's a lot of cool ones though, if you check this curriculum out. I'm really excited for it. So we're doing the responsive web design. Once that's done, I think it's gonna help us in the long run, even if it doesn't even like basic stuff. I think it's still gonna be pretty cool. Then you got JavaScript and algorithms and data structures. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Then front-end library is going to be cool. Data visualization, APIs and microservices. So excited for that. Information security and quality assurance, and then coding interview prep. You know, maybe, but the next few ones are going to be exciting. So I just got to plow through this, and at this current rate, we're doing pretty well. Use the M tag. There we go. The italicization. Wrap an M tag around the contents of the paragraph tag to give it emphasis. Okay, so over here, around the entire one. There we go. Sweet. Use the S strike-through tag. Wrap the S tag around Google, around inside the H4 tag. Why, are we striking out Google now? Oh dear, please don't strike me, Google. I don't need a content strike on my channel. It should not contain the word alphabet. What? Include the word alphabet in the H4 tag. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. They want me to do that. Right. Create a horizontal line using the HR element. In HTML, HR is a self-closing tag and therefore doesn't need a separate closing tag. And we need to add this under the H4, which contains a card title. So where's our H4 line? There it is. We're just going to add it over here. Sweet. You just look the information up when you need it if it comes to design. I guess, yeah, like the one thing that I've always known is that when you're doing any kind of projects, especially when it comes to coding, like, yeah, you can learn everything that you can and get the best principles, but most of the time you're going to be Googling stuff anyway. I fully agree there. I guess this was just kind of to get myself into a good habit, really. Because I haven't really been doing much. As you know, like, when's the last time you saw me modding and stuff? So this is kind of my way to like change my life up, get into a routine. So I got 100 days, see how far we get. And yeah, definitely gonna get through this web design one really fast. It's getting exciting now, look! Adjust the background color property of text. To make the text stand out more, adjust the background color of the H4 element to the given RGBA value. Ooh, we're getting alpha now. We didn't have alpha yesterday, we only had the red, green, blue aspects. Okay, so how do you want me to do this? In here. So you want us to do background. Well, they're basically giving it to us, so we might as well just copy paste it, right? So you want us to do that. Also, for the H4, remove the height property and add padding of 10. So you want us to remove height and add padding, 10 pixels. Okay. I think that's it. Am I missing anything? I think that's good. There we go. Into a team. What do you mean by into a team, Stupid? Adjust the size of a header versus a paragraph tag. To make the heading significantly larger than the paragraph, change the font size of the H4 tag to 27 pixels. So I could just do font size 27 pixels, I guess. You said you're trying to get into a team. Did I? When did I say that? Now? Oh, sorry. This is probably because I didn't enunciate my words correctly. I'm trying to get into a routine. You know, consistently do the same thing over and over. So that's why this forces me to basically do this challenge every day for at least an hour for the next 100 days. And then hopefully that kickstarts me into like, this is what I want to do. Because I don't know if you remember, I used to code all the time, like 15 plus hours a day, but then I guess I kind of got burnt out, shifted things, dropped things, and yeah, this is just my way to be like, hey, enough's enough. Start doing something, right? And I guess that's where we are today. Cool. Add a box shadow. I love box shadows. Do you know how cool this is? It like really just makes things look pretty. Okay, so I'm just going to take this text. What do you want me to do? The element now is an ID of thumbnail. With this selector, the example CSS values above to place a box shadow. Use the example to place box shadow on the card. Okay, so where's our selector? Do we have it? Did they put it in for us? No, I don't see thumbnail. There's no thumbnail here, so we're going to create thumbnail. I guess that's why we have the spot. Thumbnail, and then we're going to add this. Did we add the thumbnail? Where do you want us to add the thumbnail? Do we need to add a class? Oh, it has an ID of thumbnail. Oh, it's an ID. That's why. There we go. Isn't that cool? Look at that. Just look how cool that looks. Like a simple bit. Off, on. Isn't that cool? I don't know, maybe it's just me. I got some cleaning to do today, you say, Stupicide. You envy me. Things are way boring. Yeah, I also got some cleaning. Like, there's so much I need to get done. And so little time, and that's why I have to, like, literally make time. You know, I challenge you. I directly challenge you, Stupicide, to do this challenge. Check it out. 100 days of code.com. And all you need to do is spend an hour. You just make the time. And you just learn any bit of code. It doesn't have to be on Free Code Camp. It can be literally anywhere, anything that you want to do. Just every day for at least an hour a day, do a bit of code and log. Keep a log. And I think you might feel like way more empowered as well. I have a link. Yeah, let me grab it for you. And just pop it in the chat for you real quick. There you go. And check it out. And challenge yourself. It's really great. You'll feel more empowered. And think about it, at the end of the day, you're going to definitely learn something. Got 100 days, don't give up, no matter what. You just keep doing it. And I feel, because you know, a lot of the times you don't feel that motivation, you don't feel that accountability, because you may not have something to do and you just end up doing nothing or procrastinating. Well, this forces you. It's like, you know, you've got that streak. You know you got to keep that streak up. And that's what I love about it. Cool, we added the box shadow, so we should be done. Decrease the opacity of an element. Okay. So 1 is opaque, which isn't transparent. Half is half see-through, and 0 is completely transparent, as in we wouldn't even see it. So we need to set the opacity of the anchor tags to 0.7 using links class to select them. Do we have a links class? Yes, we do. And we need to so what, we can just literally say opacity? I've never even used that before, I didn't even know it was a thing. So 0.7? Whoa, that's a thing? So what would 0.2 be? Oh, that is so cool. You'll check it out? Awesome, Stupicide. How are things going with you otherwise? You still doing your playthroughs and all that? Use a text transform property to make text uppercase. The following table shows how the different text transforms values change the example text. Transform me. This one seems quite daunting. Transform me. It's terrifying. Use the default value. What would the default value be? Whatever was set to initially? I guess that's why it says initial. Inherit. Use the text transform value from the parent element. I still got to figure out how parents work. I don't quite grasp that yet. What makes it apparent? If it's under something else? I will mod Skyrim every day for the next 100 days for at least an hour. That sounds amazing, dude. Like, seriously. And I mean, if it weren't for the fact that I'm constantly doing Skyrim and I don't feel I'm really getting anywhere, because there's not really a language that will help me, you know, Papyrus, I feel this will at least give me the skills I need. And then after that, maybe I'll do another 100 days of, you know, code and then do Skyrim mods. We'll see. Opening the creation kit will cut off 30 minutes already. Oh, it wouldn't be funny if it's not true. The H4 text should be uppercase. Okay, so we are going to do text transform uppercase. Scream at me, alphabet. Thank you. The original text of H4 should not change. Well, then it should be done. Set the font size for multiple heading elements. Set the font size of H1 tag to 68 pixels. Oh, they're really testing us now, hey? So H1 font size 68 pixels. Is there a quicker way to do this? H2. I could have just copy pasted. I'm gonna do that now. 52 pixels. We need H3, H4, H5, H6. God, why did I do it this way? So H3 needs to be 40 pixels. H4 needs to be 32 pixels. H5 needs to be 21 pixels. And H6 needs to be 14 pixels. That's it. Set the font weight for multiple heading elements. You set the font size of each heading tag in the last challenge. Here you adjust the font weight. The font weight property sets how thick or thin characters are in this section of text. Oh, that's cool. Font weight. So what if you set to something like 2000? Whoops. Wait, it's not pixels. So 2000 versus 1000? Oh wait, 2000 doesn't exist. There's like a limit probably. So 1000 exists clearly. That's very thick. That's a thick boy. And 100? Oh, it's a thin boy. What about 50? Oh, there's clearly a minimum as well. I guess 100 is default. Now it's not changing. What? Oh, it seems to only be... What? Is it me or is it not changing? Am I going crazy? Or maybe that specific font doesn't have like different thickness. Anyway, it wants 800, so let's give it 800. 800 looks like 1000, doesn't it? It's weird. H2 needs to be 600. H3 needs to be 500. H4 needs to be 400. H5 needs to be 300. And H6 needs to be 200. Oh, nice. Set the font size of paragraph text. Change the value of the font size property for the paragraph to 16 pixels to make it more visible. Jesus, that's like text for ants. Can you guys even see that? How about I make it 100 pixels so that everyone can see? Lorem ipsum dolor citamet consecutator artificing elite. It's like I'm going to summon Cthulhu or something. There we are. 16. I still think you guys are gonna have troubles reading it. Set the line height of paragraphs. Do you remember in Word when we used to play around with line heights and all that? Add a line height property to the paragraph tag and set it to 25 pixels. So now there's 25 pixels spacing. And if I added 125, it will be like doop! Single, double, and all that. I prefer 15. Look at 15. No, too squished. Anyway, 25 it is. Let's go. Adjust the hover state of an anchor tag. That's cool. So A, hover. And what do you want us to do? All A tags black, right? Add a rule so that when the user hovers over the A tag, the color is blue. So then we just do color. We could just say blue, or what's the code for blue again? It is... It was... The first two are red. F being the highest, so it's 0 for red, F for blue, maximum of blue, and 0 for... Wait, it's green next. Blue is the last one, right? Red, green, blue, yeah. So that should be it. I remembered, guys! I could have just wrote blue there, you know, but we remembered the hex code, which is pretty cool. And long form would be 00FF, but because we can shorten it to like a maximum of, what was it, 256 colors? I think it was? Oh no, I don't know. What was it, 16 million? I have no idea anymore. There's just too many. Do I have an issue now? The anchor tag should have a color of blue on hover. What color is that then? Are they actually penalizing me because I used hex instead of using the text form? Are you serious now? I'm being penalized. That is blue. They don't want me to use hex. I need to specifically say blue. That's silly. That's something that should actually be changed. Should mention that to I'm gonna make a note here to Free Code Camp, because there we go. Let's move on. Change an element's relative position. CSS treats each element as its own box, which is usually referred to as the CSX box model. Block level items automatically start on a new line, think headings, paragraphs, and divs, while inline items sit within surrounding content like images or spans. The default layout of elements in this way is called the normal flow of a document, but CSS offers a position property to override it. When the position of an element is set to relative, it allows you to specify how CSS should move it to relative to its current position in the normal flow of the page. It pairs with the CSS offset properties of left or right and top or bottom. These say how many pixels, percentages, or ems to move the item away from where it is normally positioned. The following example moves the paragraph 10 pixels away from the bottom. Changing an element's position to relative does not remove it from the normal flow. Other elements around it still behave as if that item were in its default position. Positioning gives you a lot of flexibility and power over the visual layout of a page. It's good to remember that no matter the position of elements, the underlying HTML markup should be organized and make sense when read from top to bottom. This is how users with visual impairments who rely on assistive devices like screen readers access your content. Change the position of the H2, okay, right, to relative, okay, and use a CSS offset to move it 15 pixels away from the top of where it sits in the normal flow. Notice there's no impact on the positions of the surrounding H1 and P elements. Now I haven't noticed because I haven't done it yet. So you want us to say top 15 pixels, you said? Whoa. What if I didn't have position relative there? Wait, does it literally do nothing then? Wow. That's interesting. Wow, so if you didn't... And then you also had position absolute, didn't you? Which they're going to probably teach us in the next part. It's so cool. Move a relatively positioned element with CSS offsets. The CSS offsets of top or bottom and left or right tell the browser how far to offset an item relative to where it should sit in the normal flow of the document. You're offsetting an element away from a given spot, which moves the element away from the referenced side, effectively the opposite direction. As you saw in the last challenge, using the top offset moved the H2 downwards. Likewise, using a left offset moves an item to the right. Use CSS offsets to move the H2 15 pixels to the right and 10 pixels up. Interesting. The top moves it down. It's like, what's that term? It's flipped, but that's not the word I'm looking for. But left is right and right is left. Huh. Okay, so what do you want us to do? Move the H2 15 pixels to the right. So that means left 15, right, and 10 pixels up. So bottom 10 pixels. There you go. Lock an element to its parent with absolute positioning. The next option for the CSS position property is absolute, which locks the element in place relative to its parent container. Unlike the relative option position, this removes the element from the normal flow of the document, so surrounding items ignore it. The CSS offset properties, top or bottom and left or right, are used to adjust position. One nuance with absolute positioning is that it will be locked relative to its closest positioned ancestor. If you forgot to add a position rule to the parent item, this is typically done using position relative, the browser will keep looking up the chain and ultimately default to the body tag. Okay. Lock the search bar element to the top right of its section parent by declaring its position as absolute and give it top and right offsets of 50 pixels each. So position absolute. Okay, we've locked it in. So top 50 pixels and right 50 pixels. Lock an element to the browser window with fixed positioning. The next layout scheme that CSS offers is the fixed position, which is a type of absolute positioning that locks an element relative to the browser window. Similar to absolute positioning, it's used with the CSS offset properties and also removes the element from the normal flow of the document. Other items no longer realize where it is positioned, which may require some layout adjustments elsewhere. One key difference between the fixed and absolute position is that an element with a fixed position won't move when the user scrolls. Oh, that's cool. So just stay there in one place. That's why navbars use them. The navigation bar in the code is labeled with an ID of navbar. Change its position to fixed and offset it to 0 pixels from the top and 0 pixels from the left. Notice the lack of impact to the H1 position. It hasn't been pushed down to accommodate the navigation bar and would need to be adjusted separately. Okay, so navbar. Let's not do the position fixed first. Let us first do the offset. So we're going to say top 0 and what else? Left 0. That didn't change anything. So let's add position fixed. Okay, so if I didn't have that, and if I said relative, interesting. Everything changes, yeah, I shift up. And then that kind of just stays there. And if I resize it, that's cool. Push elements left or right with the float property. The next positioning tool does not actually use position, but sets the float property of an element. Floating elements are removed from the normal flow of a document and pushed to either the left or right. Yeah, I never understood this. People always just said float it and then somehow it just centers things, especially when you wanted to center those divs. So it's commonly used with the width property to specify how much horizontal space the floated elements require. The given markup would work as 2-column layout with the section and the side elements next to each other. Give the left item a float of left and the right item a float of right. Oh, so they can be separate. Let's see. And Stupicide, do you perhaps feel like looking into that thing I had in mind after this? You know, clicking an inventory item to start an animation or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely, what do you think about doing it today, Stupicide? Because I need to be out. I'm gonna end the stream in about half an hour. Exactly half an hour. And I need to be out for about 2.5 hours, so I'll probably only be back in like 3.5 hours from now. But I mean, if that's still a thing and you want to do it, then I guess why not? It's kind of part coding, right? Or is that a bit late for you? And what do we have to do here? The element with ID left should have a float value of left. So left should be float left, and right should be float right. Whoa! Now they're separate, left and right sides. Or maybe later in the day, not too sure if that works for me. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, when I'm back, I'll drop you a message just to let you know, and then you can just let me know if we can still do it. And then see how that goes. Otherwise we can make a plan around it. Like if you want to do it earlier, then I could just adjust when I do these kinds of streams. And then we can tackle that. Yeah, can do it tomorrow. I don't mind. Now that I'm doing these 100 days, it's like something I have to do, right? Take advantage of me. Brilliant. Change the position of overlapping elements with the z-index property. Or z-index, if you want to say it that way. Add a z-index property to the element with the class name of first, the red rectangle, and set it to a value of 2 so it covers the other elements. So I guess the higher the number, the higher the position. So z-index 2. And now red is over blue. Oh, this is unacceptable. Now this is 3. Haha. Don't want to be bothering you. It's not an issue at all. Honestly, it's not. So if you still want to do it today, let me know. Otherwise we can do it tomorrow. It sounds simple enough, as long as I don't try and complicate or whatever. And I won't like make it into a mod for me to publish or anything probably. So I'll just skip all the things I normally do, all the QA, all the commenting, and literally just straight up build something. And just give it to you like that. Center an element horizontally using the margin property. So center the div on the page by adding margin property with a value of auto. Never understood how this works. It's just magic. It's witchcraft. Another positioning technique is to center a block element horizontally. One way to do this is to set its margin to a value of auto. I guess because it sets the margins of the left and the right to like 50-50. Because I guess if I did margin left 50%, right, and margin right 50%, wouldn't that... that's not centered now. Why? That's weird. You would think it would be centered. That's weird. Why is it like not 100? What if you do 100%? Oh, there it goes. That is weird. This is why I never understood that, but margin auto works. No digits with the length of 9 this time. Margin, I keep on saying margin boo. Margin may start where the actual border is. The border? There's a border? Possibly. What's next? Learn about complementary colors. Oh, I know about complementary colors. I feel like I'm a fashionista when it comes to that. What colors do go together and don't. But this will be fun. Color theory and its impact on design is a deep topic, and only the basics are covered in the following challenges. On a website, color can draw attention to content, evoke emotions, or create visual harmony. Do you want to see visual harmony? Let me show you visual harmony. Let's have blue background with yellow text. Best. I'm just kidding. Looks absolutely awful. Let's see if I can like Where's the text? There's the text. So let's change div class blue and change it to hash 00f, and then we need to change the p tag. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? P? No! P. Color. Yellow. How beautiful is that? Like, look at that. Oh, it's so easy to read, right? Well, let's make it like a different variant of blue. So like 6A. Oh, that is perfect. Do you see that? That's how you increase readability. Yeah, this is why it's important that you have colors that actually... let me just reset the code there, because I messed it up a little. Okay, so what do you want me to do? Change the background color property of the blue and yellow classes to their respective colors. Okay, you're gonna give me shit this time? If I just do 00F, which is blue. How do we get yellow? Oh, there's yellow. FF00. So it's a mix of green and red, that makes sense. Are they gonna allow short form in this? Yep, they do. Smart. Learn about tertiary colors. Computer monitors and device screens create different colors by combining amounts of red, green and blue lights. This is known as the RGB additive color model in a modern color theory. Red, green and blue are called primary colors. Mixing two primary colors creates the secondary colors: cyan, magenta and yellow. You saw these colors in the complementary colors challenge. These secondary colors happen to be the complement to the primary color not used in their creation, and are opposite to that primary color on the color wheel. For example, magenta is made with red and blue and is the complement to green. Tertiary colors are the result of combining a primary color with one of its secondary color neighbors. For example, red and yellow make orange. This adds 6 more colors to a simple color wheel for a total of 12. Wow. It's really interesting when they break down colors like that. It's like a science behind everything. There are various methods of selecting different colors that result in a harmonious combination in design. One example that can use tertiary colors is called the split complementary color scheme. This scheme starts with a base color, then pairs it with the 2 colors that are adjacent to its complement. The 3 colors provide strong visual contrast in a design, but are more subtle than using 2 complementary colors. Here are 3 colors created using the split complement scheme: orange, cyan, and raspberry. Change the background color property of the orange, cyan, and raspberry classes to their respective colors. Make sure to use the hex codes, as orange and raspberry are not browser recognized color names. I did not know that, thank you. The orange becomes this, cyan becomes that, and raspberry becomes that. And you say these complement each other? I guess they kind of do. They like go, don't they? It's definitely contrasting. But you know, I'd have black and purple there. Always black and purple. I don't know, maybe different shades of purple. Adjust the color of various elements to the complementary colors. The complementary colors challenge showed that opposite colors on the color wheel can make each other appear more vibrant when placed side by side. However, the strong visual contrast can be jarring if it's overused on a website, and can sometimes make text harder to read if it's placed on a complementary colored background. In practice, one of the colors is usually dominant, and the complement is used to bring visual attention to certain content on the page. This page will use a shade of teal as the dominant color, and its orange complement to visually highlight the sign-up buttons. Change the background color of both the header and footer from black to teal. Let's go ahead and do that now. Background color of header and footer. Okay. Then change the H2 text color to teal as well. Okay. Oops. How did that work if I didn't add that in? That's weird. Finally change the background color of the button to the orange color. If that works for you. There we go. Adjust the hue. Oh, the humanity of a color. Colors have several characteristics, including hue, saturation, and lightness. CSS3 introduced the HSL property as an alternative way to pick a color by directly stating these characteristics. Oh, it's kind of like RGB in the sense of pick a specific color. But now the hue is going to be the lightness of... Wow, okay. Hue is what people generally think of as color. If you picture a spectrum of colors starting with red on the left, moving through green in the middle, and blue on the right, the hue is where a color fits along this line. In HSL, hue uses a color wheel concept instead of the spectrum, where the angle of the color on the circle is given a value between 0 and 360. Oh. Instead of the 255, it's now 360. Saturation is the amount of gray in a color. A fully saturated color has no gray in it, and minimally saturated color is almost completely gray. This is given as a percentage, with 100% being fully saturated. Lightness is the amount of white or black in a color, so that's how you probably get dark shades of purple or light shades of purple. A percentage is given ranging from 0, which is black, to 100, which is white, where 50 is the normal color. Okay. Here are a few examples of using HSL with fully saturated normal lightness colors. Interesting. Change the background color of each div element based on the class names using HSL. All three should have full saturation and normal lightness. Okay, so let's start with green. Green is over here, and instead of this we're going to use HSL. So let's play around with this. So if we say 0, that's going to be the darkest green. It's going to be black, right, sorry. So 10% should be a really dark green, whereas 100% which should be a really oh, it's white. I don't know why I keep thinking it's going to be like the color really bright. So 90% should be really bright, right? Oh no, it almost like fades it. So 99 should be like you can barely see it. That's interesting. I almost want to say it's kind of like opaque, but it's not. It's like light. I don't know why I thought it would be really bright. Wait, so the first one is... Hue is the color. Saturation is the amount of gray. Okay, so 50% is a normal color. So what happens if we add saturation? Does the color... Oh, that is what makes it... Okay, that's gray. Oops. It's like a combination almost. So 40% with like 20% of that makes it really dark, iffy. And then 90% is like really bright, with a 90% here makes it really light. So technically the brightness is controlled by the saturation, in a sense. Right? I mean like vibrant bright, because if I go 90% on the lightness scale, doesn't make it more vibrant. I guess that's obviously saturation is more like vibrant. So 90% is like really vibrant, 10% is like really dull and drab. So I'm just going to take that as vibrance, the way I understand that. So that's vibrance, and then this is the amount of green. So 100 would change it to a more yellowy green because we're going towards the back to red, and then 160 will start turning to blue because we're going towards the blue spectrum, because 360. So what's 360 exactly? Like, it's the end of it. Ah, okay. Cool, so what do you want us to do? Literally just this. So green should be 120, 100, and 50. Then cyan should be this. And do we have blue? We have blue. Blue should be this. I really like this. Obviously not all browsers support it, so that's why you kind of have to like have fallbacks and whatnot. Huh? Is that all I need to do? That should be it. Sweet. Cool. Adjust the tone of a color. Oh, it gets even more complicated. The HSL option in CSS also makes it easy to adjust the tone of a color. Mixing white with a pure hue creates a tint of that color. Oh, I think that's what we did, right? In the the final part. And adding black will make a shade. Okay, so tint and shade. Alternatively, a tone is produced by adding grey, or by both tinting and shading. Recall that the S and L of HSL stand for saturation and lightness. I remember that. Yeah, the first one is the actual color itself, the base color. The saturation percent changes the amount of grey, and the lightness percent determines how much white or black is in the color. This is useful when you have a base hue you like but need different variations of it. The navigation bar on the side currently inherits its background color from header. Starting with that color as a base, add a background color to the nav element, so nav. Let's go and do that. Background color, right? And so it uses the same cyan hue, but has 80% saturation and 25% lightness values to change its tone and shade. So we're going to copy that. And you want us to do what? 80% saturation and 25% lightness. Oh, that's so cool. Now I get that. So it's like the base color, and we just like, if we made that a bit brighter. Wow. And that's like more gray. This like makes it like, we talked about the saturation, how much color. So this being at 90% is going to be like boom, most vibrant. Or 99%, right? And then 100% just makes it pure white. No, does it? I thought it did last time. That one makes it all white. Okay, so this one will make it the pure full color, but make it 0% is what's going to make it gray. Cool, that makes sense. So 80% and 25%, there we go. Create a gradual CSS linear gradient. Wow. Applying a color on HTML elements is not limited to one flat hue. CSS provides the ability to use color transitions, otherwise known as gradients, on elements. This is accessed through the background properties linear gradient function. Here's the general syntax. The first argument specifies the direction from which color transition starts. Okay. It can be stated as a degree, where 90 degrees makes a vertical gradient and 45 degrees is angled like a backslash. The following arguments specify the order of colors used in the gradient. Use a linear gradient for the div elements. Okay, so you want background, linear gradient. I'm just going to copy this so we don't have to like type it out. What do you want us to do? Oh, that's so cool. Set it from a direction of 35 degrees to change the color from okay, so we're not going to use RGB, so we're going to literally use that and this. That should be it. Wow, that looks so pretty. It almost looks like, I don't know how to describe it. That looks really cool. Wow, and just like fuse in between, and it's amazing what we can achieve with pure CSS. Use a CSS linear gradient to create a stripes element. The repeating linear gradient function is very similar to linear gradient, with the major difference that it repeats the specified gradient pattern. For this example, it helps to think about the color stops as pairs, where every two colors blend together. Yellow blend blue, green blend red. Okay. So make stripes by changing the repeating linear gradient to use a gradient angle at 45 degrees. Okay, so we're gonna change this to 45 degrees. Then set the first two color stops to yellow. And finally the second two color stops to black. Okay, so where does the color stop start? So this needs to be yellow and yellow, I assume, and then black and black. Black and yellow, black and yellow. Ooh. It gives like an interesting dimension to it. The second color stop at 40 pixels should be black. Oh. Is that it? But did they even specify? Oh, they did. The last color stop at 80 pixels. Okay, so that should be the second color stop. The color stop at 0 pixels should be yellow. Sorry, I didn't read that. One color stop at 40 pixels should be yellow. Am I just guessing now? Because that's what I feel like I'm doing. Should this be black? Is that how it should be? Gonna make like a construction. There we go. That's what they wanted. Okay. Create texture by adding a subtle pattern as a background image. Using the URL, an imager link. No! They're gonna give us memes. Set the background of the whole page with the body selector. Oh, that's cool. Use the CSS transform scale property to change the size of an element. Okay, increase the size of the element with the ID of ball 2 to 1.5 times its original size. Do I have to like, yeah. Interesting. So transform, so it's another function. Scale function. Wonder why you wouldn't just set its width or like total like size in general. Because wouldn't I just be able to do width 50 pixels, height 50 pixels? Why is ball 1 not changing? Or is that probably the reason why? Because you can't do it like that. Oh no, there you go. And if I didn't have width? So you could just do it like that, width and height. So it's by default 40. So to get it 1.5 times, we could do like, so 60 and 60 should give us the exact same result in size. Except this decided to move and that one didn't. Weird. That's probably the reason. Many ways to do this. Use the CSS transform scale property to scale an element on hover. No, really? That's so cool. And transform. We need to add a p hover transform. You want it to scale the hover state of the div and use the transform property to scale the div element to 1.1 times. Scale 1.1 times. Okay, but that's for the div. So div hover. There you go. Neat. Use the CSS transform property skew x to skew an element along the x-axis. The next function of the transform property is skew x, which skews the selected element along its x horizontal axis by giving it a degree. The following code skews the paragraph element by -32 degrees along the x-axis. Skew the element with the ID of bottom, okay, by 24 degrees. Is that case sensitive? I guess we're going to find out now. 24 degrees. So that does nothing, but if... I didn't add the degrees, that would help. Doesn't seem case sensitive, but we'll just type it in with capitalized X anyway. It's easier to read. Use the CSS transform property skew y to skew an element along the y-axis. Skew the element of the ID top, this one. So transform skew y by how many degrees? -10 degrees. Did I... Oops, can't spell transform apparently. There we go. Create a graphic using CSS. By manipulating different selectors and properties, you can make interesting shapes. One of the easier ones to try is a crescent moon shape. For this challenge you need to work with the box shadow property that sets the shadow of an element along with the border radius property that controls the roundness of the element's corners. You will create a round, transparent object with a crisp shadow that is slightly offset to the side. The shadow is actually going to be the moon shape you see. In order to create a round object, the border radius property should be set to a value of 50%. You may recall from an earlier challenge that the box shadow property takes values for offset x, y, blur radius, spread radius, and a color value in that order. The blur radius and spread radius values are optional. So we need to manipulate the square element in the editor to create the moon shape. Okay. First, change the background color to transparent. Can we just say transparent? Yep. Then set the border radius property to 50%. Ooh, that's looking nice. Finally, change the box shadow property to set the offset X to 25 pixels, the offset Y to 10 pixels, blur radius to 0, spread radius to 0, and color to blue. Whoa, that's amazing. And if we had none of that, damn, that's amazing. And that should be it. How far are we in this part? Because I'm gonna have to end the stream soon, but how far did we get? Applied visual design. Oh, we got quite a few more to go, but we made a lot of progress. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 if I counted correctly. 14 more to go. That's not bad. I'm going to come back today and wrap that up and get into applied accessibility if I get the chance. But other than that, I think I'm going to... We have time for one more. Let me finish this one. Create a more complex shape using CSS and HTML. Okay. For the before and after pseudo elements to function properly, they must have a defined content property. This property is usually used to add things like a photo or text to the selected element. Transform the element on the screen to a heart after selector. In the heart after selector, change the background color to pink. Okay. And the border radius to 50%. Next, target the element with the class heart, just heart, and fill in the transform property. And what do you want us to fill in the transform property? Use the rotate function with -45 degree. What is that? Looks like a pull. Finally, in the heart before selector, set its content property to an empty string. So like what, that? Oh, what? If I didn't do that, why does it do that? How does that work? My mind is blown. When there's nothing, it's... What? What? What just happened? How? How does... My mind, it's just like... How did we do that? This is crazy. One of the most popular shapes in the world is the heart shape, and in this challenge you will create one using pure CSS. But first you need to understand the before and after pseudo-elements. These pseudo-elements are used to add something before or after a selected element. In the following example, a before pseudo-element is used to add a rectangle to an element with the class heart. They must have a defined content property. This property is usually used to add things like a photo or text to the selected element. Oh, and because it's adding all of this before it, and all of this after it, and with the main. That is so freaking cool. What I really like about you is your ability to have wow moments so easily, even with stuff like this. It is a quality, a playful mind. Really cool, never lose that. Thank you, Stupid Side, I really appreciate that. I guess I try to always find the good in things, or at least I'm trying to, like the positive. And that's why I love things like this. You know, you always find something that's interesting or challenging or something new, and you didn't think it's really possible. Like, I didn't know all these things can be done with like pure CSS. Like, I would just go in Photoshop and create a heart. The fact that you don't even have to do that, you could just use CSS, it's like mind-blowing. And there's animations and stuff, which is what we're going to be doing in the next part, because I'm going to end off things here. But yeah, that's us for day 2 so far. We've hit our hour. We're at exactly an hour. And I'm really looking forward to where we get to with this further. I have a feeling within the next short few days we're going to nail all the projects, and we're going to be able to move on to JavaScript, which is going to be so exciting because I love object-oriented programming. So I'm really excited for that. And yeah, to all the viewers, thank you. Thank you for joining me on the journey. Stupid, thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. It's always good seeing you and having your humor in the chat. It motivates me, it definitely does. And you must let me know if I can help you with that Skyrim mod. And yeah, I guess until then, see you guys on the next stream. Bye for now.